Welcome to Top Stories Hub. Today we've got a new story, a mystery you'll want to unravel. From the second I met Clara, I was certain our paths were destined to intertwine forever. For 3 full years, I gave her every piece of my soul, trusting her completely. We shared a snug little apartment, packing it with our ambitions and tiny glimmers of hope. Day after day, I felt we were constructing a life meant to stand the test of time. Lately, she'd been leaving breadcrumbs about moving forward, texting me photos of engagement rings with a casual air. She'd paint vivid pictures of gorgeous wedding venues, as if our future was already taking shape. I was even gearing up to get down on one knee next month, buzzing with excitement to cement our bond with a lifelong commitment. My entire universe revolved around our love, and I felt grounded and happy in the world we'd built together. That regular afternoon at Brood Awakening, our favorite coffee joint, flipped my life upside down. I'd gone there to chip away at some work, drawn to the soft buzz of chatter and the rich smell of roasted beans. Tucked into a quiet corner, laptop on, earbuds in but silent, I was soaking up a rare slice of tranquility. Out of nowhere, a familiar chuckle hit my ears, and I looked up to see Clara chatting with her buddies, Chloe and Zoe. A warm wave of fondness surged through me, and I was about to toss out a friendly wave when my name slipped into their talk. Something sharp in Clara's voice stopped me dead, like ice creeping down my spine. Chloe's words sliced through the cafe's hum, her tone playful but pointed. "So, you're actually going through with it?" I could barely trust my ears, leaning in to catch every syllable. Clara, flashing the gentle smile I'd always tied to love, answered in a voice that felt foreign, cold as steel. Her laugh, when it came, was biting, empty of the warmth I knew. "Absolutely," she said, her words cutting with cruel certainty. "Caleb is so easy to read. He's been browsing rings online. I even checked his search history. Man, what a clueless guy." Each word she spoke chipped away at the person I thought I was to her, crumbling my reality. I sat there, stunned, gripping my coffee mug so tightly its heat was my only anchor, a desperate grab for solace. My thoughts spun wildly, grappling to make sense of the knife she'd just plunged into my trust. Every shared laugh, every whispered secret, every vow of eternity now felt like a mirage. I thought back to nights spent dreaming up our future, planning a wedding full of joy and togetherness, and the subtle clues that now screamed of a life woven with lies. It was like I'd stumbled into a waking nightmare, forced to watch my world unravel in real time. Her hushed words from that table echoed in my head, making me doubt every second we'd spent together. In that gut-wrenching moment, I saw that everything I'd believed about our love was a house of cards. The cafe's background chatter melted away, drowned out by the crushing roar of my heart breaking. I stood at a fork in my life's road, torn between facing her head-on or slipping away from the wreckage of my faith in her. Sitting there, a storm of rage, grief, and shock swirled inside me. My pulse thundered in my ears, each beat a stark reminder of the betrayal tainting every memory of us. I scanned the room for a familiar face, some shred of comfort, but found only strangers caught up in their own lives. The laughter and buzz around me rolled on, oblivious to the chaos tearing me apart inside. I started questioning every talk we'd had, every small gesture, every smile that once fueled my hope. Had I been so wrapped up in love, so blind, that I missed the red flags? The harsh truth hit like a tidal wave, dragging a heavy load of regret and pain in its wake. I saw now that I'd been chasing a fantasy, a delicate dream crushed by one brutal moment. As I wrestled with this new reality, I felt stuck yet oddly driven, frozen by the loss of trust, but hell-bent on taking back the life I thought I had. In that single, earth-shattering moment at Brood Awakening, my entire world was redrawn in cold, unyielding strokes. I knew things would never be the same, and as I sat in that bustling cafe, I quietly swore to myself I'd never let anyone fool me like that again. Every heartbeat, every breath from then on carried the weight of a truth I'd overheard in a fleeting, cruel exchange, a truth that would resonate through my life forever. I'd never felt so stabbed in the back, yet so fired up to dig out every secret Clara was keeping. The days after were a blur of shock and fury, each one heavy with the sting of her deception. Every memory of our quiet moments and shared giggles now felt poisoned by her lies. The words I'd caught at Brood Awakening looped in my mind, each replay fueling my hunger to uncover the full story. I decided I had to turn sleuth, piecing together the hidden parts of her life to reveal the truth behind our so-called love. The second I walked out of that cafe, a fierce determination grabbed hold of me. I started digging through old texts and pictures, frantically hunting for anything to explain the icy edge in Clara's voice that day. I kept thinking back to her laugh, so unlike the warm, loving one I cherished, now dripping with scorn, betraying a cruelty I hadn't seen. I knew I had to move fast before the betrayal swallowed me whole. I set up a fake Instagram profile, a sneaky way to keep tabs on her and her friends without tipping them off. I was desperate for hard proof, ready to go to any length to get it. Each night, I'd sit in the dim glow of my apartment, scrolling through her posts till the early hours, my heart heavy and my mind buzzing with questions. I pored over every photo, every caption, every tag that seemed harmless but might hold a clue. It didn't take long to spot pictures of her with a guy named Owen, a coworker who'd always been a vague presence in my mind. Now, every grin and casual touch in those images stung like a personal attack. I started saving screenshots and jotting down dates and times, building a timeline of secret meetups and hushed talks. The deeper I dove into her social media, the more patterns jumped out at me. I cross-checked her posts with bits of overheard chats and moments when she dismissed my worries with a weak chuckle. Bit by bit, a grim story took shape, like I was solving a puzzle where every piece exposed another layer of betrayal. I even stumbled on posts where she offhandedly mentioned staying late at work on Thursdays, the same nights she was often spotted with Owen. The evidence kept piling up, each new find a gut punch to the life I thought we shared. My search grew gutsier by the day. I'd revisit our old hangouts, sometimes lurking in a restaurant's quiet corner or lingering near her office, hoping for a glimpse of the truth. Whenever I saw her or caught Owen stepping into a building, my heart would race with a mix of dread and resolve. I wasn't the hopeful partner planning a joyful future anymore. I'd become a man on a mission, ready to risk it all to restore my pride and grasp how badly I'd been played. Every fresh clue I uncovered stirred a messy blend of heartbreak and validation. Each screenshot, each whispered rumor, brought both the ache of betrayal and a dark thrill in exposing her lies. I'd replay our old talks in my head, searching for where I'd been so blind, where I'd missed the signs that now screamed at me. My chest tightened as I realized the Clara I adored was a carefully crafted mirage, hiding her true self behind a mask. I was dead set on collecting every scrap of proof, every hidden message, every photo that could testify to her betrayal. It felt like I'd stepped into a spy thriller, armed only with my phone and a relentless need for the truth. I got obsessed with every detail, meticulously logging every find, every hint of a life she lived behind my back. Even as the night stretched on and loneliness weighed me down, I couldn't stop. I had to know it all, no matter how much the truth hurt. Through that dog chase, I saw how the journey was reshaping me. I wasn't the starry-eyed guy who believed in perfect endings anymore. I'd turned into a detective, fueled by heartache and a fierce need to take my life back. The process was grueling, relentless, but day by day, I felt a sliver of control return, control that had been ripped away with my trust. So I kept at it, hell-bent on uncovering every lie and stitching together the full story of a love that turned out to be a heartless trick. I knew facing Clara directly would only make things messier, so I played the part while gathering every shred of evidence I could. I acted like nothing was wrong, burying the hurricane of pain and betrayal deep inside. Whenever we crossed paths, I'd flash a polite smile, nodding at her cheery hellos, while my mind churned with careful plans. I played the devoted partner who still bought into our promised future, all while setting quiet traps to catch the truth in its rawest form. Late at night, when the world went quiet, I'd sit at my desk, sifting through the clues I'd piled up. The moment at Brood Awakening was seared into my brain. Clara's harsh laugh and careless words haunted me, pushing me to dig deeper. I remembered Chloe's sarcastic jab, asking if I was really going through with the proposal, and how Clara's voice oozed disdain as she mocked how predictable I was. I knew I had to act like I had it together, even if it meant playing the clueless fool to uncover more of Clara's secret world. Social media became my go-to tool for answers without raising her guard. I made a fake Instagram account with a nondescript name, following not just Clara but also Chloe and Zoe. Every day, I'd scroll through her posts, heart sinking, studying each image and caption for hidden truths. It wasn't long before I spotted clues hinting at a secret romance. There were small tells in the photos, her smile brighter when Owen was in the frame, casual mentions of late work nights on Thursdays, that started forming a clear picture. I spent hours saving screenshots, noting dates and times of every damning post. Each image, each message I found, was another piece of a puzzle revealing a life of deception. The more I uncovered, the plainer it became that Clara was living a double life. I remembered one night when she stayed out way later than usual. Instead of calling her, I'd noticed cryptic posts hinting at sneaky meetups. I even found a photo of her laughing with Owen, his hand grazing hers, a small move that screamed intimacy. Even as each discovery broke my heart, part of me felt a bitter satisfaction. I wasn't the blind, trusting partner anymore, I was a guy with a purpose. Every find pushed me deeper into a world of careful moves and sharp observations. I started hanging out near her office, hoping to catch her with Owen. One cold evening, I stood outside a restaurant near her work, hidden in the dark, and saw them walk in together, giggling and whispering like they were alone in the world. My hands shook as I watched Clara brush a stray hair from Owen's face, a moment that locked in my suspicions with brutal clarity. I even grabbed coffee with a mutual friend, Ryan, who worked with her. He spilled that Owen wasn't what he seemed, sharing rumors that he was married and spinning lies to keep Clara hooked. Ryan's words deepened the cut of betrayal but lit a fire under my resolve. I felt a rush of power, knowing I was peeling back the layers of deceit that had stolen my trust. The process was agonizing, each truth slicing deeper, but I held on to the idea that exposing every detail was my only shot at reclaiming my pride. In those lonely moments, piecing together the shards of a love built on lies, I felt my heart toughen. This detective work was changing me from a guy in love to one who refused to be fooled. I knew if Clara planned to humiliate me at the proposal, I'd be ready. Every lie, every sneaky smile caught on camera, every quiet chat with Owen was now my arsenal. I'd use it all to stage a showdown she'd never see coming. That night, as I shut my eyes, I made a silent promise: no matter how deep the hurt, I'd rise above it, bit by bit, seizing the truth that had been hiding in plain sight. I got ready for the proposal night with a calm grit and a hidden, burning determination. I slipped into the navy suit Clara always raved about, every detail perfect. I looked like the guy who still believed in our future, even as I plotted my own comeback. When we walked into Bella's bistro, the air felt heavy with tension. Clara, glowing and oblivious, stepped in with a thrilled grin that hit me with a pang of bitter irony. Her friends were already there, their glances darting between excitement and something smug, like they were in on a secret. I caught Chloe and Zoe exchanging looks, and I wondered if they sensed tonight would change everything. As we settled at our reserved table, I felt the weight of every lie and secret pressing down. Clara kept sneaking peeks at her phone, a habit that now made my skin crawl with suspicion. I thought back to the soft laughter we used to share, moments that now felt like a scripted act. Every clink of silverware, every murmur in the restaurant, seemed to mirror the deceit that had crept into our lives. In my head, I rehearsed the words I'd say, each one crafted to lay bare the truth and salvage my broken pride. The small talk started off light, full of forced pleasantries that felt painfully fake. Clara's eyes gleamed with anticipation as she shared bits of her day, but I saw flickers of guilt and scheming behind her sparkle. I nodded and grinned, my mind racing with strategies and evidence. I thought of the screenshots I'd saved, the recordings ready on my phone, a stockpile of secrets she'd kept from me too long. Every clue I'd gathered had led me to this exact moment. Finally, the time came, and I stood up, the room going hushed as I cleared my throat and lifted my wine glass. I started my toast, voice steady despite the sorrow and strength battling inside. To Clara, I said softly, watching her face brighten with what I assumed was joy, whose filled my days with moments I thought were real. A soft hum of agreement came from the guests, but I kept going. And to the truth we all deserve, even when it costs us dearly, I added. In that split second, Clara's face shifted, her warmth vanished, replaced by shock and creeping dread. Chloe and Zoe squirmed in their seats, the restaurant's silence growing heavy. I took a shaky breath, pulled out my phone, and hit play on the recording from that day at Brood Awakening. The cafe's background noise faded as Clara's voice cut through, icy and harsh, mocking my trust and calling me a fool. Her words stabbed at my heart like daggers. The room erupted into chaos, Clara's eyes wide with panic as her betrayal was exposed for all to see. Her friends' faces twisted with shock and regret, grasping the weight of what was unfolding. The clamor of voices barely registered over my pounding heart. I swiped through my phone, showing the screenshots of her secret texts with Owen, pictures and words that proved her double life beyond doubt. The truth, once buried in whispers and sneaky glances, now roared out in a public spectacle. Standing there, facing Clara's tear-stained face and the stunned stares around me, I felt an odd freedom. The grand lie that had trapped me in a web of false hopes was collapsing. In that moment, I wasn't the blindsided partner anymore, I was the one steering my own fate, refusing to be played any longer. Every detail of the night had been planned to lead to this raw reveal, and though my heart was in pieces, I knew bearing the truth was my only way to reclaim my dignity. As the recording's final echoes lingered, Clara's betrayal stood undeniable. The evening, which started with dreams of celebration, ended in a storm of shattered trust and hard-won justice. I stood firm, alone in the chaos, knowing the illusion was done and I'd finally taken back my life. I sat frozen, watching Clara's familiar face morph into a mask of fear and rage mid-dinner at Bella's Bistro, where I'd hoped we'd toast to our future. Everything fell apart in one brutal moment. Her eyes, once full of warmth, now flickered with terror as she toyed nervously with her fork, her hands shaking. The air buzzed with tension, her every tiny expression screaming deceit. The restaurant, once our haven of shared dreams, had turned into the stage for her ultimate betrayal. I stood slowly, each move deliberate, the guests' murmurs fading to a low drone as I gripped my wine glass and cleared my throat. "I've got a toast," I said, voice calm despite the storm inside. Clara's eyes widened, searching my steady gaze for clues. I started by recalling our years together, years brimming with hope, plans for tomorrow, and promises we both held dear. But as I spoke, I wove in the proof of her lies, reminding everyone of that day at Brood Awakening when I overheard her call me a fool, of the hidden messages, and the times her laughter turned cruel. The final act came when I pulled out my phone, swiping through screenshots and recordings that laid bare every lie, every secret chat, every moment she'd broken my trust. With each swipe, I saw shock and remorse ripple across her face. "How long?" I asked, my voice thick with grief and resolve. The silence that followed was heavy, her pleading eyes unable to erase the betrayal. I went on, detailing the evidence I'd painstakingly collected, secret meetups, quiet dinners with Owen, and the careful steps she took to hide her true self. Each word I spoke seemed to strip away the life we'd built together. I thought of our whispered vows of forever, now poisoned by her lies. Our friends' faces showed shock and sympathy as they took in the truth. My heart raced, reliving every moment that led to this pain, every clue that confirmed my fears. I could almost feel the burn of her hidden tears, the stunned gasps from those around us. As I wrapped up my toast, I let silence fill the void where our bright future once stood. Clara's defiance melted into frantic excuses, her words a chaotic mix of anger and regret. I stood unwavering, refusing to let our past be twisted into justifications for her deceit. In that moment, I knew the hopeful guy who believed in perfect love was gone. I'd become someone forged by betrayal, determined to reclaim my worth. Every eye was on us as the weight of my words sank in. The restaurant, once alive with chatter and clinking glasses, fell quiet under the truth's heavy shadow. A cold clarity hit me. I'd crossed a line with no way back. Clara's web of lies was torn apart, impossible to rebuild. The pain was immense, but in it, I found a stark freedom, a release from a love built on falsehoods. Standing there, I knew I'd exposed the ultimate betrayal, not just to myself but to everyone there. I was no longer the victim of empty promises, I'd taken control. With every heartbeat, I started to imagine a future free of deception, one where I could rebuild on a foundation of truth, no matter how painful the past. After that night, everything shifted so fast I barely recognized my own life. The fallout from the scene at Bella's Bistro was bigger than I'd ever imagined. I stepped out into the chilly night, feeling both a strange relief and a deep, hollow ache. The scandal spread like wildfire, not just through online whispers rippling across our social circle, but in every quiet glance and hushed talk that judged what had happened. Friends who once shared our laughter now gossiped behind closed doors, and even familiar streets felt heavy with betrayal's weight. I walked alone, each step marking the end of a life I treasured and the start of a tough, unknown path. Back at my apartment, the silence was deafening. I sat in the faint light, Clara's lies spread out on my desk, screenshots, recordings, all proof of a trust brutally broken. I'd blocked her everywhere, cutting the last tie, but the digital silence only amplified the echo of our lost days. I scrolled through old texts and photos, hunting for traces of the guy I used to be, hopeful, trusting, certain of our shared tomorrow. Now, every picture was a knife, every message a betrayal that cut deeper each time I looked. In that loneliness, I felt both regret's sting and a fierce drive to take back my pride. The aftermath wasn't just my personal pain. Clara's deceit started unraveling her work life, too, just as fast as it had ours. Within hours, rumors hit her workplace. A friend told me Owen's own mask was slipping, and soon the whole mess was office gossip. It didn't take long for the consequences to hit Clara hard. Her bosses, fed up with her dishonesty, began doubting her dedication. What started as social media whispers now cast a shadow over her career, bringing reprimands, coworker distance, and the clear stench of ruin. Even as I dealt with my own hurt, I couldn't miss the irony that her crumbling world had set me free. In the chaos, I found an odd strength growing inside me. I started to see that every cruel word, every piece of evidence, didn't just expose her lies, it freed me from a life tied to false hopes. I began rebuilding myself, step by slow step, even with the rubble of our past all around me. The more I waded through the aftermath, the more I realized one life's end often sparks another, one rooted in truth and hard-earned freedom. The fallout touched every part of my world. At the cafe where we used to dream up our future, now got only cold stares and whispered guesses. That once comforting spot now reminded me of the lies tossed around so easily. Outside, the city kept moving, blind to the personal tragedy playing out. I started to see that betrayal, as crushing as it was, also held a spark of renewal. In the stillness before dawn, staring at empty streets, I vowed to learn from this pain. I'd come out tougher, more careful, and fully committed to a life of honesty and self-worth. In that long, lonely night, I found clarity in the wreckage. Clara's world had fallen, and with it, the illusion of our shared future that once defined me. I knew the road ahead would be rough, with every memory scarred by betrayal. But I also saw that every ending carries the seed of a new start. With each moment, the weight of the past eased, giving way to a cautious hope for what could be. I promised myself I'd move forward, rebuild a life free of lies, and let the hard lessons of the past guide me to a future shaped by strength, not regret, and a relentless chase for truth. After that wild night at Bella's Bistro, I watched my world change in ways I never could have pictured. Clara's lies spread like a brushfire, ripping through the ties of our social circle. Friends who once cheered our happiness now traded stern looks, their quiet talks trailing me everywhere. The local bar, our old crew's second home, turned cold overnight, a place of judgment instead of warmth. I remember stepping through its doors that night, heart heavy with grief and anger, only to face stares that cut deeper than words. Clara, scrambling to save face, tried to spin the story, painting me as the controlling jerk and herself as the wronged one. But even as she pushed her excuses, the truth had already taken hold among our friends. I'll never forget when Chloe, fed up, stood and said in a clear, steady voice, "You're pathetic, and we all see it." Her words echoed through the room, a turning point for our once tight group, shattering the fragile quiet that had settled. In that moment, it hit me that the bonds we'd built were broken beyond repair. Clara's attempts to manipulate only pushed her further out, speeding up her isolation. Later that night, I watched from a distance as she staggered out of the bar, emotions spilling in a messy outburst. She yelled at anyone who looked her way, eyes wild with rage and despair, until she ended up alone in the parking lot, slumped against a lamppost, tears streaming down. It was heartbreaking yet somehow fitting, a raw image of a woman undone by her own deceit. The days after saw the social fallout deepen. Old friends hesitated to even say her name, and invites to our usual hangouts turned to awkward silences and cold stares. Even those who tried to stay neutral had to pick sides, and Clara's support vanished in the scandal's wake. I started getting texts from old pals, some offering sympathy, others glad the truth was out. Every chat, every glance at dinners or casual meetups, drove home that Clara was now an outcast in the community she once ruled. In all this, I felt a tangled mix of vindication and sadness. Part of me knew justice had been done, but another mourned the hopeful life I'd lost, full of shared dreams now broken by betrayal. I wandered familiar streets, revisiting old spots, each one echoing happier times now stained by deceit. In quiet reflection, I saw this social collapse wasn't just Clara's punishment, it was a painful but needed reset for us all, a reminder that broken trust leaves lasting scars. I chose to lean into the solitude that followed, using it to rediscover my value and build a life grounded in truth, not illusion. Each day, watching her actions ripples through our community, I grew more set on moving forward with honesty and pride. Clara's fall was a stark warning, a lesson in betrayal's cost that none of us could ignore. I began to see that, despite the pain and chaos, there was a chance for a fresh start, one where real connections, built on trust and respect, could grow. So, in the ruins of broken trust and lost friendships, I started a journey to heal, determined to reclaim the parts of me buried under deceit's weight. With every step, I promised to see this pain not as bitterness but as a lesson in truth's power and the need for a future free from past shadows. I held tight to that vow, stepping into a changed world that still held the promise of redemption and renewal. Alone in the dim light of the apartment we once shared, I felt the cold reality of my new life settle in. Clara, broke and desperate, had moved back with her parents, cast out from the glamorous life she once showed off. I'd left that mess far behind, my heart tougher, my focus locked on a future free of her lies. Each move I made was careful, intentional, unbound by the chains of empty promises. I thought back to the day her final betrayal hit, a text that lit up my phone as I planned a solo trip with the cash meant for her ring. "It should have been our trip," she wrote, her words so bitter they soured what little love remained. I laughed, a mix of sorrow and relief, and blocked her without a second thought. In that moment, I saw she was sinking in her frantic bid to save her ruined image, while I was already miles ahead, free from her lies and ready to rebuild from the fragments she left. The days after she left were a haze of quiet determination and solitary focus. I spent hours thinking over every moment that led here, the sneaky glances, secret talks, and cold laughter that once filled our home with promises. Each painful memory was a lesson, a sharp reminder that trust, once broken, can't fully mend. I started small, deliberate steps to take back who I was, picking up old hobbies, reconnecting with friends I'd ignored, and slowly seeing there was life beyond the hurt. Each morning, walking our neighborhood's quiet streets, I was struck by how the sunrise, uncaring of my pain, painted the sky with hope. I told myself that while the past left scars, the future was a fresh canvas waiting for strokes of real joy. On this lone journey, I thought of Clara, not with anger, but a distant curiosity, wondering how it felt to see your carefully built world collapse, every lie exposed until only your mistakes remained. It was a fate I once dreaded, but now it strengthened my resolve, a warning to stay sharp. I found comfort knowing my pain had purpose, to shield me from future lies and remind me of my own worth. Late at night, by the window, a cool breeze carried whispers of renewal, mingling with the fading echoes of our past. I let myself mourn the hopeful guy I'd been, blinded by love, and began to embrace the strength now pulsing in me. Every tear was a quiet promise, I'd never let anyone twist my heart or dim my spirit again. I learned true freedom came from facing betrayal's hard lessons and using them to step toward a brighter future. In those still moments of reflection, I saw Clara's final desperation wasn't my loss but my freedom. I was no longer caught in a tangle of lies and broken dreams. Her last bitter message had become the rallying cry of my independence. As I planned a solo trip, part escape, part rebirth, I felt a quiet victory grow inside. The past, with all its pain, was behind me. I stepped into the unknown, certain every struggle had carved a path to a life defined not by regret but by the pursuit of truth, healing, and hope. The day I met Evelyn is burned into my memory, a bright contrast to all that came before. In the wreckage Clara left, I found peace in a chance meeting that felt like destiny. Evelyn was different from anyone I'd known. Where Clara spun lies and false hopes, Evelyn was real, her warm smile thawing the coldest parts of my heart. From our first talk, I felt her quiet strength and clarity shine through her words and actions. Her laugh was light, honest, and every moment with her started to patch up a soul torn by betrayal. I'd learned trust was delicate, easily broken by deceit, and rebuilding it took time. With Evelyn, though, I found that healing could be a shared path, a careful exploration of staying true to ourselves and honest with each other. Walking quiet streets together, talking under the soft glow of streetlights, I uncovered parts of her that echoed my own craving for realness. Every word she said reminded me that even after deep pain, life could still surprise with moments of beauty. It didn't take long for news of my new connection to reach Clara, and her reaction was quick. Desperate to rewrite the story, she messaged Evelyn, sending warnings and bitter jabs, trying to cast me as the bad guy in a tale that had lost its pull. But Evelyn, with a steady calm I admired, didn't bite. In one sharp move, she sent back the video of Clara's parking lot meltdown, the moment that marked the fall of her lies. Shared without spite, that video said it all. I wasn't the deceiver, I was a guy who'd faced hard truths and was moving forward. As days turned to weeks, my heart began to mend, bit by gentle bit. Clara's painful betrayal faded into the background, replaced by the soft promise of something new. Evelyn's presence was a steady light, nudging me to face the future with cautious hope. Each shared smile and quiet talk lifted the weight of old sorrows, replaced by the simple joy of a real bond. I learned moving on wasn't about erasing the past but accepting it as part of me, one that had hurt, learned, and grown. In Evelyn, I saw not just a new beginning but a chance to rediscover my own resilience and ability to love. She showed me that even after the worst wounds, there was a way to rebuild, to trust again, and to find beauty in life's everyday moments. With her beside me, I felt ready for whatever came next, knowing betrayal's lessons had taught me to value a love that was honest and true. Each day with Evelyn was a quiet victory of strength and hope, proof that even in the darkest times, light could break through. Looking back on those stormy days, I saw meeting Evelyn wasn't just a shift, it was a rebirth, a chance to start fresh, to live without the ghosts of old lies, and to build a future rooted in trust, respect, and raw honesty. Nights spent reflecting showed me how the past had molded me, each memory a lesson in love and loyalty. Clara's lies had once made every kind word feel empty, but with Evelyn's steady care, I learned to cherish each moment for its imperfect promise. In quiet hours, I'd journal, noting the small wins of my healing heart. The change wasn't instant, it was a slow climb, marked by doubts and bursts of joy. Evelyn was there through it all, a steady hand when betrayal's scars tried to drag me back. I saw life as a mosaic, each piece, dark or bright, building who I was becoming. It was a journey to reclaim myself, knowing one chapter's end could spark another's hopeful start. The trust I'd lost was creeping back, like a shy bud after a brutal winter. With Evelyn, I learned vulnerability was strength, daring to open my heart despite the risks. Her unwavering support showed the beauty of real care. Her words and actions carried the truth I'd craved, that love didn't have to carry the past stains but could be a base for an honest future. In this new bond, every shared secret and soft smile was a brick in the life I was building, one where trust was earned through mutual respect. The past's hard lessons, though permanent, weren't shackles but steps to a brighter future. I'm forever thankful for the chance meeting that brought Evelyn into my life, reawakening a strength buried under pain and doubt. She's not just a partner but a mirror showing the resilience I'd lost. Together, we move forward, day by day, creating a space where honesty rules and love is fearless. The path ahead may hold unknowns, but with Evelyn, I'm ready to face them with courage and hope. The final blow wasn't a burst of rage or a big showdown but a slow, unstoppable crumbling of the life Clara had built on lies. Alone at a small cafe table on a rainy afternoon, I watched raindrops streak down the window, each one a reminder of time catching up with her. I thought back to every painful moment, the whispered betrayals, the cold laughs at my expense, the growing proof that shattered our future's illusion. Karma, I realized, had come to collect what was owed. It started with a call from Clara's parents, their voices thick with regret and shame. They confessed they'd long sensed something was off with her, their apology heavy with sorrow and a sense of inevitability, showing the damage went beyond just us. I listened quietly, the bite of their words mixing with a subtle sense of justice. The truth was out, and the fallout was unavoidable, not just for Clara but for everyone caught in her web of lies. In our small town, the scandal spread like wildfire. Whispers wove through every chat, on streets, in offices, even at our local church. Clara's name became shorthand for betrayal. Friends who once laughed together now shared looks of disapproval and pity. Even those trying to stay neutral had to choose sides. Owen faced his own downfall, his wife armed with proof of his lies, leaving him alone and disgraced. Their collapse wasn't loud or dramatic but a series of small, crushing steps that stripped them of respect and safety. Watching their mistakes unravel, I felt a mix of emotions, satisfaction in seeing justice, yet sadness for what was lost. I recalled countless nights alone, wondering where I went wrong, how I missed the truth. That painful realization was a turning point. Each broken promise, each hidden secret taught me trust and self-worth as true value. I learned, sometimes too late, that love built on lies can't last. Weeks later, the community began to heal. Friends divided by the scandal reached out, their voices softer, their judgments eased by the shared truth that betrayal scars deeply. I started rebuilding the parts of me crushed by deceit, meeting people who prized honesty, their simple words and real smiles showing life could restart after heartbreak. The past's bitter lessons became the bedrock of my renewed self. Looking back, karma wasn't cruel, just inevitable. The universe balances the scales, every action carrying its price. Clara's fall wasn't about gloating but a needed step in reclaiming my dignity. I came out of that dark time with a sharper sense of what real love means and how to be worthy of it. Betrayal's echoes no longer haunted me, they reminded me to live with honesty and integrity. In the cafe's soft hum, a calm settled over me. Karma's final strike had left Clara with nothing but a broken life's scraps. I was ready to step into a future shaped not by past scars but by the strength and truth I'd built from them. With each breath, betrayal's weight lifted. I stood, leaving behind what was, and walked into the rain-soaked world, heart set on a fresh start. That's all for today's tale on Top Stories Hub. Hit subscribe, leave a comment, and tell me what you'd like to see next.